You are listening to Able Radio, simplifying productivity for small business owners everywhere. If you are looking for 1% improvements that add up to big results, this is the place for you. Every week, we learn about simple systems and tools that will help you build the business and life you've always wanted. Now here's your host, Zachary Sexton.
Welcome to Able Business Radio. My name is Zachary Sexton, and I am excited. I read this guy's book a couple weeks ago, and I reached out, and he was fortunate enough to connect with me. He actually thought we were doing a coaching call, so I almost got a free coaching session from him. But his name is John Nemo, and John is an expert on setting up profiles, prospecting, and publishing on LinkedIn so you can generate more referrals for your business. John is also a sports nut, a family man, and an unabashed child of the 80s. Welcome, John.
Hey, I like that intro. Zach, and it is true. I thought you were one of my clients. I'm like, all right, Zach, let's go through your profile. Here's what I was like starting a coaching call. That's how dedicated I am to the people. I am a man of the people, Zach. I see a LinkedIn profile and immediately want to start giving feedback. But anyway, I am honored to be on and excited to speak with you and have this conversation.
I'm very excited as well, and just seeing you looking at my profile, I was like, oh, did I do the things right? Because I recently read your book, which I'll put in the show notes. It's called LinkedIn Riches. A friend recommended it to me because LinkedIn had been one of those black holes for me. If people listen to a previous episode on social media in general is one of those things where I'm always on the fence of. It's like, well, that's a good place as a business owner to reach people because that's where they're at, but it's also just a time suck and attention really is the thing that the Facebooks and the LinkedIns and the Twitters and the Instagrams are all trying to do. They're trying to get your attention so they can then feed you some more advertising. So I have a contentious relationship with social media, but I kept on hearing LinkedIn is the place for business. LinkedIn is the place for business. Finally, a friend recommended your book. I read it, and I did do some spit takes because I was reading it in the morning when I was drinking some coffee. And when you quoted the, I was almost going to say late great. He's not dead yet. Vanilla Ice. You got a problem. I'll solve it. Now check out my moves while my DJ revolves it. I sprayed coffee over my living room, so you made the intro easy.
LinkedIn and Vanilla Ice, meant to be. Yeah.
Just together at last. Yeah, I loved all the references in the book. But just to get things started, why LinkedIn? What got you so excited to be teaching people how to use this social network more effectively?
Yeah, great question. And obviously, most people don't wake up in the morning going, yeah, I want to work on LinkedIn all day.
And so, you were really excited. Like,
yeah.
It was like, we got an hour, let's go to town. Like, I was excited. I almost let you do it.
You should have. But yeah, I mean, here's the deal. So I did grow up as a child of the 80s. And so, once I finished college, and I got to start with the backstory a little bit just so people know how I got to where I am now, but started after college as a journalist. So I worked for newspapers, the Associated Press, then I transitioned into public relations. And then, at that point in my career, social media came onto the scene. And so I'm the son of two English teachers. So I love storytelling. I love reading and writing and creativity. And social media opened up this whole new world for me. And at the time I was working in a corporate position for different trade associations and things like that. And I really was chomping at the bit to go out on my own. I just am not somebody that fits well in a corporate world. I don't like red tape. I don't like a ton of meetings. I'm very much, let's cut to the chase. I have an idea. Let's go execute it. And so back in 2012, so almost 5 years ago, I decided to make the leap. I left what was a safe six-figure day job. I had it made. I was never going to get fired. And it was very easy, but I was really just not motivated, not happy. So I left my day job. I had one client, enough money for 30 days, 3 young boys at home to feed. My wife was home with our kids. So it was on me. Like I had to take it seriously. I didn't have investors. It wasn't some safe opportunity, but I knew I could do it. I just felt like, you know what? I have what it takes. I believe in myself. And more importantly, I saw an opportunity with LinkedIn. This is all the way back in 2012. Like most people, I had come into LinkedIn, like you mentioned earlier, Zach, off air, like I used it as a resume, right? Oh, okay, this is what I want to post on and get my stuff in there. So if somebody wants to hire me for a corporate position, whatever. But what I saw even back in 2012 when I went out on my own and started my marketing agency, that's what I was going to do in the beginning, was, wow, you have everyone in the professional world gathered on one platform. And not only that, but they've all entered all this information in. So LinkedIn knows your job title. They know where you live. They know where you went to college. They know, your employers. They're totally big brothering you, which is great, right? Because for me as a marketer, I could turn around on LinkedIn and reverse engineer all that. So what I did in 2012 when I left my day job and opened a marketing agency was, wait a minute, I don't have to do trade shows. I don't have to do coffee meetings. I don't have to go play professional footsie at quote unquote networking events. I can just go and talk to people directly one-on-one online that I find on LinkedIn. And so what I did was, and this is one of the first tips I always give people, with LinkedIn, the riches are and always have been in the niches. And so what I did, opening up my marketing agency, of course I could do marketing services for anybody. But what I knew was, and the best advice I got was, try to start with a niche audience. And so I started with debt collectors, which is odd, right? Why would you pick debt collectors? Well, I worked for a trade association that serviced debt collectors. I helped them with PR, and we know debt collectors need PR help, right? And marketing, and I saw a gap in that market. And so what I did was, very simply, used LinkedIn to go and connect with the decision makers at these debt collection agencies, the CEO, the president, the owner. And what that enabled me to do, and what that enables anybody listening to do, is with LinkedIn, you connect directly with your specific exact buyer, your specific exact decision maker. There's no red tape. There's no gatekeepers. There's no administrative assistants. There's no black hole of corporate emails. You literally talk to the person one-on-one. And what I was able to do, in the first 90 days, being on my own, sitting at home in a bedroom, folding card table, laptop, and my phone, was able to close 6 figures in revenue of new marketing clients, all by using LinkedIn to target people at debt collection agencies, all by really having what we'll talk about in a little bit, but having a client-facing LinkedIn profile, having a very specific, one-on-one personalized approach. And it's no different than how we do business every day. It's just you can scale it so much quicker online if you're doing it in an authentic, right, meaningful, value-driven way. And so we can get more into that, but that's why I got obsessed with LinkedIn. And now that all spiraled into clients then saying to me, Zach, well, I want you to do for us what, how you found me. Go get me clients with LinkedIn. So I started doing that for clients. And then I'm like, one client finally said, why don't you just write a book, or why don't you just teach this? And I'm like, yeah. So I wrote LinkedIn Riches, which became a bestseller. I created an online course. And now what I really love is I closed the marketing agency. I fired all my clients. And now I just do online courses. I teach people how to use LinkedIn to get leads. I teach people how to use webinars. I do some coaching. But it really is a great place to be because, again, as the son of 2 English teachers, I love teaching and training. You heard how excited I got when we hopped on Skype and I thought it was a coaching call. I'm like, all right. So that's why I'm here. And I love LinkedIn. It's only gotten better. And we'll dive into that. But that's kind of the backstory of why I'm here today.
All right. Well, I'm biting at the chomp to hear your tips on designing a great LinkedIn, and you were saying client-facing LinkedIn profile, so not all about me, like look how great I am, but like look at how many problems I can solve for you. But before we get into that, are there just any basic principles for somebody like me who's young but kind of old at heart, where he has a profile, but whenever he goes there, he or she doesn't know where to go, doesn't know what to do? Are there any basic LinkedIn principles that we could be aware of?
Yeah, great question. And we have to start with, really, LinkedIn has a PR problem. They have a branding problem. And where this all starts, and it was that way back in 2012, and it's still that way today, they cannot, for whatever reason, they cannot move beyond their origin story. And so LinkedIn really started as a place for job seekers and HR people, right? You put on a resume and HR people go hunting around for candidates, and they can search by location and job titles and find people and recruit. And that's really, unfortunately, what people still think LinkedIn is, right? Like, it's so much more. Now, to understand where LinkedIn is today, you've got 500 million members, 200 different countries. They add 2 new members every second. And LinkedIn's goal is really to be a one-stop shop for professionals worldwide. Their goal is for you to log into LinkedIn each day, not necessarily to look at your profile and all that, but to get your industry news, to read, think pieces and opinion pieces from peers in your industry, or, leaders in, Tony Robbins or whoever, right? They have these influencers. And then also LinkedIn has training on there. They bought lynda.com for a couple $2 billion and rolled all of these online training courses into LinkedIn. So you can go on LinkedIn now, you can get your industry news, you can look for a job, you can network and look for people to talk to, you can get specific training on software or how to sell or whatever it might be. LinkedIn Learning, they've got professional groups and networking. They've got a freelance marketplace now called LinkedIn Pro Finder, where you can go on and put yourself out there as a coach or consultant. One of the 500 million people on LinkedIn can go and type in to ProFinder, I need to hire a business coach in Minneapolis. Here's my zip code. They will surface my profile and say, hey, here's one down the block. Why don't you two get together and have coffee or whatever it is, right? They want to connect people worldwide. They want to be this one-stop shop for professionals. Most people don't understand it that way. And the bigger thing, the biggest opportunity for everyone listening is, it is the world's biggest search engine for sales leads. Okay, I can't emphasize that enough. LinkedIn's search engine, its internal search engine, is like Google for professionals. You literally can type in, Zach, I want to find a business coach in Austin, Texas to have coffee with. And it'll immediately spit out, 50 of them, right? Or anyone who self-identifies as a business coach in the Austin zip code. You can immediately say, I want to talk to healthcare CFOs in New York City who have an annual, revenue of their hospital of this much money, and you can find them. And this is what's incredible is you can make these customized, targeted lists of people to engage with. And so really taking a step back, there's 3 simple things you can do with LinkedIn. One is get in and create a killer profile. That's step 1. That's the baby step. Step 2 is go in and prospect. Go in and use the search engine to find your ideal leads. And step 3 is sell to them, right? And I have a whole system there of how do you genuinely and authentically engage and sell to people on LinkedIn. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's really kind of the lay of the land, the overview of how this all works.
Perfect. Well, let's dive in, I guess, with baby step number 1, setting up that profile. What are your top tips for that, or how do you, if I'd let you go on with that coaching call, what would you have done with me?
Well, here's the thing. So I would say 99% of profiles get this wrong. And yours, Zach, is part of the 1%. You were on the right track. So you just have to finish yours out. But 99% of us, and it's not our fault, right? You were kind of trained by LinkedIn to upload a profile that really reads like a resume. It's written in the third person like you're a pro athlete. Zach Sexton has worked at such prestigious employers as blah, 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 right? And he's had job duties including this, and he's done this, and he's done that. It's a virtual resume, most profiles. And the problem with that, of course, to quote my late great friend Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is your clients and customers don't care about you. Right? They care about themselves morning, noon, and after supper. That is the one guiding principle that I run my whole business with is people do not care about me. They don't care where I went to college. They don't care where I worked. They don't care about awards I've won. They care about, can I solve their problems? Can I help them get what they want? And what I did and what I teach with LinkedIn profiles is flipping that upside down. Instead of a resume, it's what I call a client-facing profile. And I have a whole template for this, and it's very simple, and it really reads, here's one sentence even if our listeners just take this one sentence, and I saw it on Zach's profile right away. What I do, : and you write what I do in all capital letters, because on your LinkedIn profile, at least as of right now, you can't add bold or italics or underline. So I use capital letters as like mini headlines. What I do, I help, and then you put in a target audience. I help, my target audience achieve, then you put in their goals, right? What are the things they want to accomplish by providing my product or service? And that's really where you start with. And let's look. Let me pull it up on this call. Let's just see what a young man from Austin, Texas wrote. What I do.
I haven't even seen this in a while. I got to get onto my LinkedIn account.
Here's the first line of Zach's profile. What I do. I help, and watch this, he's going to put in a target audience, online entrepreneurs. So now I know if I connect with this guy, Zach Sexton, if I see his profile, if I see his invite, and I'm an online entrepreneur, I'm immediately intrigued and interested. He says, what I do, I help online entrepreneurs. What do I want to do as an online entrepreneur? What's my goal? I help them centralize and organize their work. Right? Those are two immediate goals or benefits that I'm going to get if I work with Zach. If I'm an online entrepreneur who wants to centralize and organize myself, get my stuff in order, this is a guy I need to learn from, right? And then you follow the rest of the template, who I work with, how I do it, what others say, and you put in some testimonials, right? This is the type of template and flow that you want with a LinkedIn profile, what Zach is doing, right? And you obviously read the book, so you've been applying it. But it's that client-facing approach to basically be able to say, here's who I work with, here's the problems I solve, here's how I help them, here's what other people say. That's so important with target audiences. If, when I first started on LinkedIn marketing to debt collectors, I was able to then get testimonials. Joe Debt Collector at Debt Collection Agency, John helped our web traffic increase 52%. Jane Debt Collector, John created a great marketing video that helped us win an RFP. Like, when you have specific things that are, targeted to your audience, they're going to love it, right? Because again, if Zach's just said, I work with anyone who wants to organize and centralize their work, that's too broad. But when you identify a target audience, and it can be more than one, it can be online entrepreneurs, business coaches, and consultants. There's 3 big audiences right there that Zach can appeal to, all of whom, by the way, need to centralize and organize their work. Now, you could also say maybe you help those 3 audiences, land new clients, win new business, increase revenue, optimize their website, whatever your service is. You put that in on the bottom end, but it's really about who do I serve, what goals do I help my audience achieve, because they're self-interested, they want to know, can you help me get what I want, and then how do you do it? What's the service you provide? And when you really simplify your LinkedIn profile this way, when you put in those keywords, those target audiences, that's how you show up higher in search, how you get found on the platform, and more importantly too, people then understand you. And it's very simple for me to instantly make a snap decision of yes or no, do I want to connect with Zachary Sexton? Well, I'm an online entrepreneur and I do need help organizing. He might be worth my time to connect and listen to. Let's see what he's got for me. Versus I'm a CFO at a hospital and I could care less, right? But again, with LinkedIn, the riches are in the niches and the targeting, and it starts with a profile.
Absolutely. Thank you for exposing my LinkedIn
Shout
profile.
out!
I was still working on it, but yeah, I had taken that first baby step that you talked about in the introductions. It's saying what you do, who you work with, how you do it, and what others have said. I took some advice. You'd mentioned you had some advice on the profile pic. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Yeah, that's another interesting one. I think one of the key things I've learned being on LinkedIn for as long as I have, you've got to have a professional headshot. Let's just be honest, or at least you looking good, right? And a close-up of your face. This is not the place for the Facebook vacation type photos. It's not an avatar of your dog or your company logo. One of the big things that really works well on LinkedIn, and this is where I want to focus on with the photo, is we want to do business with people. I don't want to do business with Zach's logo. And I'm sure Bucket's Productivity has a sweet logo and it's really cool, but I don't know it. I don't trust it. I don't like it. I want to work with my guy, Zach. Well, I look at your profile photo. Here's a guy. He's clean shaven. He's looking happy. He's smiling at me. I mean, all the studies show this. The psychology of it is we judge a book by its cover. With your LinkedIn profile photo, do you look competent, professional, welcoming, happy? Are you smiling? Are you frowning? Is your hair standing on end, right? Do you have a baseball cap on backward, unshaven, drinking a beer? Which doesn't mean you can't be a human being, doesn't mean you shouldn't. But remember, LinkedIn is a business-first network. Like, the only time you'll ever see me in a suit and tie is my LinkedIn photo. Right now I'm sitting here in a Minnesota North Stars hockey t-shirt, shout out to the 80s, my favorite hockey team, and shorts, right? Thank God it's an audio podcast. It's not a pretty picture. But on LinkedIn,
you've got me in a suit and tie. Like, because the first time you meet me, just like if I was going to give a speech, I would dress up, right? So that's a simple tip with your photo. You want to be professional, but you also want to be human, because the way that it works on LinkedIn, the way that you have success is what I call one-on-one, personalized, relational marketing. Meaning you talk to people like human beings. And we'll get into all this when we talk about prospecting, but it all starts with a good photo, a welcoming profile, and making it clear to your target audience, yes, I'm someone you want to learn from and talk to because I can help you do these things that you want. And that's really where it starts.
Tell me about reviews.
Oh, profile reviews?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so this is something, I always want to have testimonials. And one of the things with your LinkedIn profile, they're pretty hidden. So if you're aware of it, you can recommend people on LinkedIn, you can endorse them, things like that. There's two key elements here. One is it's great to have someone write a formal LinkedIn recommendation for you, which is basically a testimonial. The problem is the way LinkedIn displays it is it's very hidden. So kind of the tip I give people, you don't have to have someone endorse you through LinkedIn's kind of clunky process. Just take people in real life that have given you testimonials that you have on your website or have endorsed you via, whatever. Ask permission to use it. And then I want you to paste it into your profile text. So Zach has pasted into his summary what others say, : the training was awesome, is what this says. I've done your guided mind sweep, was surprised by the amount of blah, 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 blah. This was awesome. I had to pause the audio again and again to get it all out. And he's got a real name, Oliver, software developer. He's got Trent Barrister, a real life real estate agent. It may seem trivial, but I watched you do a screencast, learn this, learn that, right? So you're putting real people in there. And that's the key with LinkedIn. If you're going to use testimonials, paste them right into the text of your summary or your experience section. Don't expect people to find them. They're very hidden. The other key thing that you brought up, Zach, and we're diving deep into the profile here, but is a section called featured skills and endorsements. And so basically one of the things you have to understand about LinkedIn is it's a big fat search engine, and it works very much like old school SEO, search engine optimization, was back in the day. Meaning, the more keywords that you use, the more people will quote unquote find you. So LinkedIn has this thing called featured skills and endorsements, where you can go in on your profile page and LinkedIn basically says, hey, what are you good at? What do you want to be known for? And so I look at the top three that Zach has. He's got process optimization, Google Drive, and Google Docs. Now, I would say right now, that's not what you want to be known for, because, if I'm an online entrepreneur, what I'm going to be searching for if I want help with organization and, getting myself organized is those types of keywords. So what you can do, Zach, and I'm sorry to pick on you, but you asked for it, man.
Please.
While we're talking, I'm going to go on to LinkedIn, and what you can do is you can actually go down in the edit profile area where it has the featured skills and endorsements, and you can start experimenting and typing in keywords. It'll say add a new skill. And if I go in and type in organization, you find all these different, here we go, organization skills, organizational leadership, organizational design, organization behavior, organizational learning. What was the other one with, what was your other big benefit you give people?
Organize and centralize the work.
Okay, so centralize might not be.
Yeah, that might not be another a good keyword.
That's not a good keyword. And the reason is we get into what we think sounds cool and aspirational. And you're fine. I mean, that's not a bad word to use. It's just not a popular word on LinkedIn. What LinkedIn will do when you type under add a skill, under featured skills endorsements, they will suggest keywords. So if I'm Zach, I'm typing in organization or organizational and looking what comes up, right? Organization, I think a great one, organization skills. That should be like your top keyword, right? Because now LinkedIn is going to look at your profile and go, oh, okay, if someone types in organizational skills or organizational tips, we're going to surface this guy, Zach Sexton, because he's good at that. He told us that's his top keyword. Whatever you put for your top 3 keywords on your profile under featured skills and endorsements, LinkedIn gives extra attention and weight to. And again, remember, this is a big search engine. People are on here typing in every day looking for help, organizational tips. Maybe that pulls up a blog Zach wrote. Maybe it pulls up Zach's profile. LinkedIn categorizes, sorts, and organizes every single piece of content on this platform. Every blog post, every status update, every inch of your profile gets keywords assigned, gets tags assigned. So when people are looking for help in certain areas, they know Zach's our guy for people in Austin and that are looking for organizational skills, right? You surface, you show up based on, do you have similar people you're connected to? Are you in a similar region of the world? Things like that. That's how you get found. And so we could go really deep on profiles. I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but these are some of the key things remember, always be thinking about LinkedIn like a search engine and what keywords would my ideal clients type in. LinkedIn will tell you, just go into the search bar and start typing stuff. And just like Google, it'll pull up drop-down menus of what the most popular keyword terms are. And then always remember with your profile here with, baby step number 1, client facing. Here's who I serve. Here's what I do. I've got a whole template on this. If you go to linkedinriches.com, you'll find templates and free stuff. But again, that's the key with the profiles.
Perfect. And I'm actually just clicking right here. There was 7 endorsements that people had given me that I hadn't added to my profile, and one of them was that came up 3 times was productivity coaching, and one came up 1 time, productivity improvement, and then another one was podcasting, and then weirdly fundraising. I've never done that before.
But here's the thing though, those productivity ones, put those at the top and then put them in your title, right? This is the other little bonus tip with some of those keywords. So you have, helping online entrepreneurs organize their business. Then put a line break after this on your LinkedIn title. Productivity. What was the keyword? Productivity coaching?
Coaching, yeah.
Boom, right? Then put a little line break. Put another one. Organizational skills or whatever it was, right? Like if those 3 terms are in your LinkedIn headline, you remember these 2 things. Whenever you surf around LinkedIn and people see you, they see your photo and your headline. So your LinkedIn headline, that little 1 line under your name, needs to be ultra clear what you do and what you're good at, right? So I like your current headline because it identifies a target audience. You help online entrepreneurs and you help them organize their business. But put after that productivity coaching and then another line break, organizational tips or something like that, organizational skills and tips. That's going to immediately not only say who your audience is and what you help them do generally, that's also going to give out keywords to people and to LinkedIn of, this is what this guy's really good at. This is what he's known for. And that's going to really help you, surface more and show up better on LinkedIn and get more people clicking through to want to see your whole profile, which then expands on that, has even more keywords, and then you're golden.
Perfect. And a quote that I pulled from your book that I feel like encapsulates this is, a confused prospect never buys. So we're being super clear, like this is exactly what we do, and I've got a little bit of work to add to my clarity, and thank you so much for the free coaching for that. So
hey bud, I knew I'd work it in. Here's the deal, don't get fancy. Gary Vaynerchuk always says, why do you think you're fancy? But here's the deal, you got to be ultra simple and ultra clear on LinkedIn. Don't be aspirational. Don't be all wispy and use big words and think you're cool. Like, be super simple. You're a productivity coach. You teach people how to organize their business. Like,
no, John. I think I architect structural systems to improve efficiency.
You're a ninja.
You're along the. Oh yeah, gosh, I hate that.
Productivity. Yeah,
I do have a good friend who is a productivity ninja coach, and he's super smart, and so I love that. But that word gets used a little bit more than you'd like.
Be simple, be clear. Yeah,
cool. Actually, ninja is pretty simple. I was like, all right, well, they're ninja. So let's move on to prospecting. So you kind of, it's almost like the opposite side of creating your profile. Instead of you optimizing for people to search for you, you are searching for other people that might be good clients. So how do you get started on that?
It's super simple. LinkedIn at the top of the screen has a big fat search bar. And you go in there, and it works just like Google. For instance, with my LinkedIn Riches online course, I love business coaches. They have immense success with my training. They do really well. I have a lot of good testimonials. So when I'm actively going out to market that specific training to a target audience, I go up to LinkedIn, I type in the word business coach, and it immediately gives me results of, guess what? Business coaches, right? And then now we can get really hyper-focused, and pardon the expression, we can become ninjas, okay? Like, we can really, really get good with this. So if you type in the job title of the person you want to sell to, start there. But what you can do with LinkedIn's advanced search filtering, you can go even further. So I can say, well, I really want to get personalized with my invitations on LinkedIn, right? And I want to connect with all the business coaches I can find in Austin, Texas. So I'll type in business coach, filter it by people, filter it by second level because that's people I'm not connected to. And then I'll filter by location, and I'll type in Austin, Texas. And LinkedIn will change the results and say, okay, we found 683 business coaches in Austin that are second level that you can reach out and invite. Now I could say, you know what? I want to get even more niche. I want to find people that went to the University of Texas in Austin. So watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to filter by college or school because that's another option. So then that whittles down my list of 683 to, let's say, 241 business coaches live in Austin, went to Texas. Now, Ultra Ninja mode, I use these different third-party automation tools. There's tons of them. So what I do is these automation tools help me not have to copy, paste, open a new window, and click a button 242 times. They let me write an invitation.
John, real quick.
Yeah.
I've never used the search button besides like, oh, I know this person, I want to find them on LinkedIn. So that's even opening up my world. and then getting more specific. So I've got 168 business coaches in Austin. What can you do besides just connect with them? And then a lot of times they're like, oh, well, you're not part of their network. I don't know if you can connect with them. But I let me know what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, so I'll walk you through it. So the number one way to get people to accept your LinkedIn invitation is to be personal, right? And LinkedIn even tells you all the time, add a personal note. So I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but here's what I would do. So if I found, let's go with 241 business coaches living in Austin who went to the University of Texas, and I walked in and they were all in there in their UT burnt orange t-shirts. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to go in and go, Boomer Sooner, baby, Boomer Sooner. I wouldn't do that. Do you get the sports joke here? Like, I would get beat up because Texas and Oklahoma hate each other. But I would immediately have icebreakers. That's what I'm getting at, Zach, and everybody listening is, I know when I send you a LinkedIn invite now that you live in Austin, you're a business coach, and you went to the University of Texas. So I can write an invitation one time that says, hey, Bill, hey, Jane, hey, Zach, hey, Fred, noticed you live in Austin and went to University of Texas. Is that new coach going to turn the football team around? Meanwhile, would love to connect. I work with lots of business coaches. Cheers, right? What that does is you personalize the invitation. And then the automation tools let me send that 241 times and insert everyone's first name, right? So I write the little personal note once based on 2 or 3 icebreakers that I used LinkedIn search to get. Then I can go off and drink coffee or do something else while LinkedIn invites 240 people with a personal invitation based on their interests, based on what they've done in their life, where they went to college, where they live, what they do for a living. And then the other thing you have to really worry about with an invitation is how you can help them, right? The reason I'm reaching out is I work with lots of business coaches. I help them find leads on LinkedIn. Would love to connect and learn more about you, blah, blah, blah. Like something like that. So for you even, you look for someone who self-identifies as an entrepreneur, and you can filter it by entrepreneurs living in Dallas and go, hey, I'm down in Austin. Hope the weather's great in Dallas. We're getting a lot of rain today. Let's connect. Like just those little personal interactions do a couple of things. One is it gets people to accept your invite because they're curious. Because let's be honest, Zach, who writes an invite like that, right? Who puts a joke about your college sports team into an invitation? People are curious. And let me tell you, can I tell the Send It in Jerome story here for your audience?
I was gonna tee you up for that one.
All right.
And to be honest, all your jokes about the 80s, gave me a good laugh. I'm not a big sports guy, so I just had to accept that you were probably saying a good joke when you talked about sports. So it's a good story.
That's
though.
why you didn't react to the Oklahoma joke.
No, I had no
college
idea.
football fans went crazy though at that one. Boomer Sooner in a Texas bar, you'd get killed. Okay, so anyway, I used this exact approach when I was, getting 6 figures in 90 days with my own business. I found a debt collector, right? He was the VP of the agency. He had the decision. I knew my audience. He's the decision maker to buy marketing services. I found him and I was like, okay, all I know about this guy is he went to the University of Pittsburgh, right, in the 1980s. And so I looked, because again, you can see from someone's profile or the search filters where they went to college, et cetera. So I sent him an invite, and I thought, well, what do I know about the University of Pittsburgh? And this guy went there during the 1980s. Like, what can I really put together and put into this? And I remembered I'm a huge sports nut, as I've made clear. They had a great college basketball team in the 80s, and one of their best players was a guy named Jerome Lane, and they were on national TV every week. And what happened was this guy went up during a game on national TV and dunked the basketball so hard that it shattered the glass backboard. And the stadium went crazy. It was at Pitt, inside their basketball arena. It was on national TV. I remember watching this as like a 12, 13-year-old kid. And the announcer, Bill Rafferty, this famous college basketball announcer, yells out in the spur of the moment, "Send it in, Jerome! Send it in!" So it's just this epic moment. And it happened during the time this debt collector was at that college. He was a student there. So I'm like, well, surely, even if he's not a sports nut, he remembers the story or the incident, So I write him an invite, and I'm like, hey, would love to connect. I help debt collection agencies with their marketing. That's why I came across your profile. Meantime, I'm dying to know, do you remember Send It In Jerome? Kid you not, within 60 seconds, 90 seconds, he writes me back. He accepts the invitation, and here's where the LinkedIn marketing comes in. As soon as someone accepts your invitation, they pop into your message box, right? LinkedIn now moves them into your one-on-one messaging stream, so you can have what amounts to live chats back and forth. So the guy writes me back, accepts the invite, so I get a notification. He jumps into my inbox and says, "I was at the game!" Wow! So he was at the game. He's immediately, the ice is not broken. It's shattered between us. He's back at Pitt in the 80s with his mullet, wearing his rolled up jeans, rapping to Vanilla Ice, and Glory Days is playing in the background with Bruce Springsteen probably. He's having the time of his life. I've just connected with him on a great non-work icebreaker emotional thing. The other important thing that LinkedIn invite did was it made him curious about me. Who's this guy from Minnesota talking about my college glory days and Send It In Jerome? Well, I'm going to go look at his profile. Who is this? So he went and looked at my profile, which was client-facing. What I do, I help debt collectors, increase sales, add clients, and win new RFP bids by providing, marketing services. How I do it. Having spent, 2 years working for a debt collector trade association, I know the language, blah, 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 blah. So it was perfect for him. So he then writes me back and goes, wow, I looked at your profile. You're exactly what we're looking for. We were just going to put a bid out to look for marketing agencies, but I'd love to have a phone call with you. Can we talk tomorrow? I'm like, sure. Get on the phone the next day, talk, bond more, $10,000 marketing contract. Done. Boom. Right? Off and running from one invitation. So yes, you can get quick wins like that. But the point of it is now, going back to our example with the 242 business coaches in Austin who went to the University of Texas, you're connecting on a non-threatening, non-work type icebreaker. Just like you would if you met someone at a networking event, a conference, a trade show. Hey, what do you do? Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? I see you have a Texas t-shirt. What's that about? You warm people up, right? You start to build a little rapport together. You talk a little bit. And what's so fascinating, and this gets into the next phase of prospecting, is once I connect with you, Zach, we can talk back and forth like little schoolgirls. There's no limit to the amount of messages we can send each other. And the way LinkedIn has refined and changed its messaging system, its inbox, is it works now like a live chat. Right? So literally, if I pull up Zach's profile and click message, I can see he's online. There's a little green dot next to his name that says he's active right now. And if he starts typing me a reply, it pulls up like, texting on an iPhone, a little ... speech bubble. Oh, he's here. We're going to talk. I can't tell you how many deals I close now using LinkedIn messaging. warm them up, right? Deliver some value. Hey, great to banter about, University of Texas. I hope the team does better. I'm a Minnesota fan. Pray for us, whatever. And then I pivot into, by the way, are you looking for leads on LinkedIn? Do you use the platform at all that way? And this is what I call permission marketing, right? And I'm giving you my whole playbook here. So what I do is I ask permission. I don't immediately hammer people with a sales pitch. I don't hammer them with, I'd like to have a 15-minute call to better discern your needs. I don't do any of that. I just say, hey, how are things going? How do you find leads? Are you looking to try to use LinkedIn? Yes or no, right? How do you use the platform? And then they'll write back, yeah, gee, I've been told I should be on here. I just haven't found a good way. Do you have an idea for me? And I say, well, actually, I do. I specialize in helping business coaches use LinkedIn to find leads. And if you'd like, I can send you a link to a webinar that will show you some of my best tips, and it gives you some scripts, blah, blah, blah. And then I wait, and I ask permission. And they go, yes, send me the link. And then I send them the link, and then I get them into my sales funnel, and they go on the webinar. By the time they get on that webinar, they're warmed up. They know me. They like me. They trust me, right? We've had a little bit of one-on-one bantering before I send them to my blog post, my training video, my podcast, my webinar, whatever that next step of content is. But again, because it's LinkedIn, because I'm only talking to people that I want to sell my stuff to, I'm not wasting time, right? And I'm scaling these conversations every day with specific targeted audiences so I can automate and personalize my engagement. And that's where the magic is. And that's, more than anything else on LinkedIn, have the client-facing profile, have the target audience in mind, then go connect with them. That's step 2, right? Like we talked about. Step 3 then is work with them in the inbox. Talk to them. And we can get into publishing and everything else, but I will say this, even since I wrote the book, Zach, LinkedIn publishing is not nearly as important as it once was. All the money is being made in the messages, in the inbox. That's where all of it's happening because it's personalized, it's real time, it's back and forth. It's like meeting for virtual coffee with 10 of your top prospects in 20 minutes. It's an incredible tool.
I have to agree with you on this one. I not from experience, but just now looking at this, I've never really given it much thought before. Before we got on the air, I was complaining about just how LinkedIn was looking a little bit more like Facebook with the news feed. But one thing that Facebook does that really just overwhelms me is with the messaging, you just get so many messages from different people. And the LinkedIn messaging system is very nice and clean. You have the people's profiles on the left-hand side, the messages on the right. So I imagine, what does it look like for you? Do you just, you search for the prospects that you're looking for. You decide how you're going to break the ice with them. You use a little bit of automation to scale that. So instead of just copy and pasting 100 times, you'll use a tool, which we could talk about at the end. I always ask people for a book and a tool, and since you're a huge reader and a guy who has a lot of good tools up his sleeves, we can save that for the end. And then then you scale it, and then you just, do you have a like every morning at 9 a.m. I go in and I do my chat? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so what works really well, and I'm at a scale where I have 15,000 connections, so I have a virtual assistant that helps me with replies and scripts and things like that. I've got it down to a science, but basically for anyone just starting, so let's say you send out 30 invites to those business coaches in Austin. Well, while you're doing that in real time, each time someone accepts, you get a notification in your message box with a blue dot signaling, hey, Joe Smith just accepted your invite. Even more important, LinkedIn will remind you of what you put in the note. So you have context for the conversation. So let's say I invite Zach to connect, and all he does is accept. He doesn't reply to my questions about University of Texas, whatever. I still see the invite, and Zach is now in my inbox. So I say, Zach, so great to connect with you. Still want to know what your thoughts are on Texas's football team if you're a fan. By the way, and then this is where I slip in the permission. By the way, curious, how do you blank? And this is where I want to slip in, how do you achieve this goal that you want? That, by the way, I can help you with, right? So for Zach Sexton, it might be, Joe, so glad we connected. Hope the entrepreneurial life in Dallas is treating you well. By the way, just curious, how do you keep yourself organized? Do you have any great systems or tools you use? And then you can say, the reason I ask is I have a passion about this. I actually work with entrepreneurs full time, helping them with organizing their business. So I'm always looking for, new tips and ideas and tools to share. Hit reply and let me know your thoughts. Like, that's a non-threatening, great way to engage. And if Joe writes Zach back and says, hey, that's really cool, I actually live in Google Drive and, blah, 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 but I'm curious, what else do you recommend? Zach can go, great. I've actually got a free PDF, 10 tools every entrepreneur can't live without. If you'd like, I can give you the link to download it. Sure, send it to me. You send him a link to your PDF, now he's on your email list. Boom, right? He's in your funnel. That took you about 90 seconds, right, to get a warm lead. So that's how it works. It's conversations, and I have all these scripts inside my training that I use, that I have my virtual assistant use, my students use, but that's the basic strategy and principle behind it.
That's neat. So right now, I've actually noticed with the publishing that it's a little bit with crickets. Every week we have a podcast, and I write up the show notes, and then I have my virtual assistant, actually Debbie, post it on LinkedIn. So you're saying right now that isn't the place to focus on. You should really first get that profile all locked and loaded, and really just getting your book. I'll put that in the show notes. Is an amazing resource. You even link to bonus resources that were equally awesome. So I haven't even dove into your course at all, but just I felt like I already got a lot of value from just those simple resources. I can see now why the course would be useful for having scripts to make this selling even easier. But right now, your recommendation. What would be your recommendation with publishing? If somebody is a content creator, is it worth it? Should they keep it on their own blog? Should they, Medium is another profile that people post articles to, even Facebook. Everyone's, I think, is trying to be that hub where people go. Reddit is another one where people go to find interesting news and topics, Quora. So what's the benefit of posting something on LinkedIn? My thought was, it can't hurt. But hopefully I'm not spamming anybody by putting that out there every week.
Yeah. So there's two different ways to publish and share content on LinkedIn that are kind of known and effective. One is status updates. So that's similar to your Facebook news feed, where you can do a status update on LinkedIn and say quote of the day, or image or video, and those can be effective. You can get a lot of people engaging with your content there. The other one is kind of long form blog articles that you can publish. Here's the deal. Like, those have gone, as LinkedIn has expanded its publishing platform to every member, 500 million people, now there's a glut. There's a glut of content on the site. And it's very hard to get yours to the top of the heap. There's all these different, nuances and things of how, LinkedIn, for instance, will only show your blog to a small amount of your contacts, your connections, and then if those people interact with it, then they'll give it more juice. But if those 30 people don't like and share it and comment, LinkedIn goes, nah, maybe this one's not that good. Zach didn't hit it out of the park. Let's just kind of let that float around. So you're leaving too much up to chance now. Here's what I recommend. I'm always a big believer in get people off of the rented land, which is LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Get them over to your house, which is your website, your email list. Like, no one can take that away from you. LinkedIn could change tomorrow, right? And one of the reasons I have an online course is it changes all the time. When I first wrote LinkedIn Riches back in the first version, back in like 2012, 2013, LinkedIn groups were all the rage, and that's where you got all the leads. Not anymore. Then in 2014, LinkedIn publishing was all the rage, and that's where you got all the leads. Not anymore. Right now, it's one-on-one messaging. And so what I recommend you do is create a couple pieces of really good content. A blog post, maybe it's your podcast, maybe it's your webinar, maybe it's your training video, some sort of lead magnet that really helps your target audience get some quick wins, get what they want. Host it on your website, yes. And you can have it on LinkedIn too. It's not going to hurt you. It doesn't penalize your SEO to have the same blog on LinkedIn as your regular blog, at least not as far as any research I've done tells me. Then what you do is you use the people that you connect to and message with one-on-one on LinkedIn, and you drive that traffic to your webinar. You drive that traffic off of LinkedIn to a blog post, to a podcast episode, something they would be interested in. So right now what I'm doing with all the new business coaches I connect to is running a script. Hey, so glad we got connected, and then I ask permission, are you using LinkedIn to find leads? yes or no, based on what they say, yes or no, or I'm interested to try to use it that way, then I have a script that says, great, if you'd like, I have a great blog post on how to find warm leads on LinkedIn. Here's, if you'd like, I can send you the link. Yes, okay, here's the link. That takes them off of LinkedIn onto my blog, which has some quick wins of how to find leads on LinkedIn. And then the call to action on that blog is, if you want even more, get on my webinar. And once they get on my webinar, now they're really warmed up, right? They've talked to me one-on-one. They've read my blog. This is useful stuff. They're getting some quick wins. Now they get on a webinar. They get even more training. And now I position them and say, now if you really want to take the full step, get the online course, right? You can have all these scripts and training videos and lifetime access, and I do monthly coaching calls and blah, blah, blah. So it's like you stair step people into your world, right? You start with small asks, small permission, and you move them over. But as far as publishing on LinkedIn, you can publish, you can cross-publish stuff there, but don't expect it to get you a ton of leads. Don't expect it to get you a ton of engagement. All the magic happens in the one-on-one messaging. And I love that because you're talking to real people one-on-one who are your exact target market. So even if they say no or tell you they're not interested, you learn from those interactions what the objections are, right? And then you adjust. So that's what I do. Like, here's an example, Zach. One of the things I used to teach was send them the link to the blog right away in your first message. People got really turned off eventually. That's spamming. I didn't ask for a link. So I pulled back. Let's ask for permission. Would you like to see a blog? Why, yes. Thank you for asking first. Here's the link. Like, just simple little cultural, social things that I wouldn't have learned if I wasn't in there doing it, but it's made all the difference. And now I drive hundreds and hundreds of people a day to a cornerstone piece of blog content that warms them up, gets them some quick wins, and more importantly, then moves even more deeper into my funnel to a webinar that sells a training. So there's multiple steps involved, but the key with this selling on LinkedIn is you can't marry someone on the first date. I don't connect with you and then immediately go, would you like to buy an online course? No, right? Like, we got to get to know each other and like each other and trust each other. And I've got to prove to you that I've got good tips. Like, otherwise, everyone can claim to be an expert, but very few people can prove it. And so if you can prove you're good at what you do, if Zach can give me 10 tips to immediately organize your online business, 10 tools you can't live without, and I find that they're helpful, I'm going to want more from the guy. And then he has a webinar, I want that. Then he has an online coaching program, I'm going to want that. Like, this guy's proving to me step after step he's the real deal. And that's really where the magic comes in with this.
John, thank you so much. I can't wait to actually go back and re-listen to this and then implement every tip step by step. I've got two questions. We can end with that, but where can people find out more if they want to thank you or find out more about what you're getting up to online?
Yeah, so I've got tons of free resources. Go to linkedinriches.com, linkedinriches.com. You actually get a free copy of my book on there, the whole book, free. I've got, if you want my profile template, the one I talked about, what I do, who I serve, everything like that, let me just check, Zach, while we're talking, because I always forget the URL, but it's linkedinriches.com. I think it's /
And that's in the book as well. So I'd recommend
it's in the book. Oh, good. Okay, the scripts are in the book.
Yeah,
so start with that. Just go to linkedinriches.com. Start with the book. It'll have links to the profile training, the templates, all that stuff.
The scripts aren't, but the outline for the show is. Maybe we can get that offline. If there's any extra links or resources, we'll make sure to get
we'll
those
put
in
them on the show notes because I've got other free training videos and stuff like that. I'm also on LinkedIn as John Nemo. You found Nemo. So, feel free to connect with me there. Tell me how you found me through Zach, and I would love to interact with you.
Awesome. All right. Well, my last two questions, I know you're going to have great answers for as these anybody who comes on, just so we can have an archive of them. The first is, what's been your most influential book and why? And I actually just read a newsletter from you talking about how much you enjoy reading Son of Two English Teachers and put it into your day. So I know you'll have a good answer there. And then the second question is, what's your favorite productivity tool or resource you might recommend to our listeners? So
awesome.
Take it away.
Yeah, so I'll go with a business book, the book that had the single biggest impact on my business, the book that I use as my LinkedIn playbook, was written in 1936, which is ironic considering I use it for social media, but How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I live by that book and by the fact that people are not interested in you or me. They're interested in themselves. how can you, find a way to help them achieve what they want with the way that you create content, do your marketing. So that book is just, priceless to me because it teaches you how to engage with people and how to manage people and how to win people over. So that's been incredible. As far as a tool, I'll give you a couple of LinkedIn tools that are really good. There's a lot of these automated third-party tools. I'll give you one because I haven't tested all of them. I'll give you the one that I use every day that I know is good. So that way I'm not going out on a limb. It's called Lin Mail Pro. LIN Mail Pro. And basically, it's a third-party automation tool that lets you use LinkedIn invites and messages. You can send them all at once. And what I did in the podcast earlier was I walked through how I do that. You narrow down your list of prospects to business coaches living in Austin, and then you send 300 invites automatically and say, hey, I see you're a business coach in Austin, let's connect, right? And it inserts the name. It's like an email marketing tool, basically, but for LinkedIn. That would be my recommendation for a productivity tool. That one saves me, I send 100 invites a day with it, probably 300 to 400 messages a day. So I don't know, hundreds of hours. It's unbelievable what that would take with copying and pasting and opening new windows. So can't beat the productivity tools.
Absolutely. John, I'm glad I found Nemo. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much.
What a fun interview with a fun guy, John Nemo. Like I said on the podcast, I read his book. I've since gone through his webinar and a lot of his material. It's all good. It's all fun. It's very easy to understand and follow and actionable. I will be putting links to all of John's stuff in the show notes at zacharysexton.com/37. Another link I will be putting in the show notes is about a training that I myself am doing. So if you're listening to this live on Wednesday, October 18th, or not quite live, but when this episode airs, tomorrow, the next day, Thursday, October 19th, I will be giving a Trello training. If you go to zacharysexton.com/Trello training, it is all about, Trello a little bit in some ways, and more about visualizing your work, about getting your work outside of your head, externalizing it, putting it where you can see it so you can choose the right work at the right time. What would your days look like if you had an actual dashboard of your work? Well, I walk you through step by step how you can actually do this. Whether you use Trello or another project management system, it's very simple, very actionable. It's not something that you're going to set up and never use, taking hours to set up and then just letting it fall by the wayside. You can set it up in minutes and start being more reliable with the things that you commit to and start working fewer hours because you'll have more focus and you won't be as distracted and you'll have greater clarity around your work. So I won't give the whole presentation away right now, but if you go to zacharysexton.com/Trello-training, you can sign up for the workshop now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next Productive Wednesday.